I'm not hearing anyone. I'm not hearing anyone.
OK，开始。Dear ladies, dear gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, SheTech, Enabling Women's Empowerment in Tech. My name is Simin Yang. I'm Project Coordinator of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at SwissNext China. Very nice to meet you on air again. This is a SwissNext Network joint webinar co-organized by SwissNext China and the SwissNext India. SwissNext is present at 5 locations around the globe: Boston, San Francisco, China, India, and Brazil. And we are here to show the best of Switzerland and building bridges, add value, and connect the dots in education, research, and innovation. I'm very proud to have the opportunity to bring a cool topic to everyone, which is related to female technology and empowerment. Women are making incredible advancements in politics, economy, and society, and they are founding and they are leading companies more than ever. Female entrepreneurs, they are also pushing the frontiers of innovation and technology. Today, we will have 3 female entrepreneurs from different countries and different cultures, and they are leading different technology domain enterprise as well. And they will share with us the cutting edge technology projects and also share with us the opportunities and the challenges they have faced during their entrepreneurship journey. Okay, now let me firstly introduce our webinar's co-organizer, Untitled from SwissNext India. Untitled will moderate the webinar's Q&A session. Untitled, could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Thank you, Simon. Good morning and afternoon to everybody who has joined in. My name is Archit Kansal and I'm part of the Startup Partnerships team at SwissNext India, where I lead all the different deep tech verticals, supporting the different Swiss startup stakeholders in all of their India missions. As one of the moderators, I will be taking in all the questions for our speakers. Please feel free to submit your questions. We will try to answer as many as we can during the course of the webinar. Now with that, I'll hand this back over to Simon. Thank you.
Thank you, Archit. And our Chinese speaker, Charlotte Chunguang Wang, founder and CEO of Equita Energy Technology. Her topics are related to big data analytics impact. Charlotte, could you say hi?
Hi, everybody.
Great. And also our Swiss speaker, Severin, co-founder of Idun Technologies. Severin will present brainwave related technology. Very cool topic. Hello, Severin.
Hi, everyone.
And also our India speaker, Himani. She's a co-founder and the CFO of Untitled Labs. Himani will give us a topic about agriculture 4.0. Hello, Himani.
Hi, Simon. Hi, everyone.
Hello, yeah, great. We will have 3 presentations from our speakers, and afterwards, there will be an online Q&A session for our audience with the speakers and the moderator. So your questions are highly welcomed and encouraged. So please type your question in the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of the Zoom window, and our moderator and the speakers will try to answer your question as many as possible. And the webinar will last for 1 hour and end up at 11 a.m. in Switzerland, 5 p.m. in China, and 2:30 p.m. in India. So now I cannot wait to learn the leading technology from our entrepreneurs. And our first speaker, Charlotte. Charlotte is a co-founder and CEO of Aquata Energy Technology. Charlotte will share a topic about big data analytics impact in manufacture process and energy optimization. So now, Charlotte, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate to have this opportunity to meet you all and then to share about what we have done at Aquata Energy. Aquata Energy is an AI-based data analytics company. We focus to revamp energy with the technology to serve energy-intensive manufacturing like steel, cement, chemical, as well as utility. So as of now, we already serve the world's largest steel enterprise, Ball Steel, largest chemical plant like BASF, and also the world's largest grid network, State Grid. We also have a presence with many other coal-fired power plants. And as of the end of last year, we have already successfully reduced 3.5 million carbon reduction. We also helped to shut down 2.8 coal-fired power plant. Our service directly to reduce unplanned downtime, fatalities, as well as energy consumption. We also have a small presence in the international market. We work with EDP in the Brazil market. We also work with Dubai and Abu Dhabi using our technology is to help them to reduce unplanned downtime. So what we do, I'm very passionate about technology. I'm an engineer by training. So what we do, our big vision is really look at the energy from demand side, what you see in the screen. From left side, we do a real-time monitoring, we do predictive maintenance, we do a carbon service. It's really provide very free service for all those manufacturing and utility, for them to understand all the digital asset management, then to serve the grid and also help the supply side to reduce the coal-fired power plants dependency in order to make a full circle to go for the electricity trading. So what backgrounds behind this, China started electricity reform in 2016, and by beginning of this year started electricity trading. So this is a huge milestone the country committed to, and also country committed to low carbon future. So our work is directly to save energy, reduce the fatality and unplanned downtime. So how we solve it? It's really the sequential way. So we help the clients to understand their data, to understand their business intelligence. Then we provide those very free predictive maintenance. This is really crucial. Give you some number. Like Ball Steel, their average just for ventilating fan, we have a downtime about 240 hours per year. Every 10 minutes equivalent to 7,000 USD loss for the unplanned downtime. So this is nearly $1 billion loss each year. They really would like to reduce. So that's where we target. And we do a system optimization to reduce their energy consumption, heating, cooling, even raw material. The beginning of this year, during the COVID-19 virus, we directly help them to reduce 70% of the on-site resource at a dangerous area. They also have a fidelity is more than a dozen each plant per year. So you can imagine with numerous plants, those manufacturing, how much we can help them to save. So in the great details, each of the service have the end of the benefit and it's a measurable result. If you ever been to China or work in China or work on the project right now in China, you really see the growing need on this digital smart manufacturing. And everyone is really seeking the best technology to help existing service, how they can reduce the cost, increase economic value. Like the second product I mentioned earlier is to directly reduce the fatality and the equipment failure. It's really helped them to reduce the cost on maintenance. The third one is for the system optimization. And I explained that those number is when you really work with those clients, so you find out that with our non-intrusive patent technology, help them to reduce 5% of the energy. What does that mean? I'll give you more literally the number. Each plant is roughly around 500 million USD electricity bill. So we saved 5% per year without any capital expenditure. So that is the value we create. What eQuota does is really bring the social and environmental impact. Besides the number I shared earlier, when we work with clients, like what you see on the screen, the ball steel, we increase their alert accuracy from previous 75% to 99%. What does that mean? Is there are always 25% of failure rate when they open a machine if they need maintain, but we can reduce that to 1%. So the accuracy and also reduce 70% of the human resource on site. So during the various time at the beginning of the year, we even have clients come to us to extend it not only to 3 years of service, but also to cover more of their equipment. And for China State Grid, maybe many of you probably heard about in the last decade, Lower Manhattan in New York had 2 large blackout, significantly damaged the local business. I mean, that's a Wall Street resigned. So for China State Grid, what we serve is they're on their crucial substation, is we increase their traditional method from 44% of heavily depend on the manual labor work to increase to 99%. I know many of you are not technical savvy, and I'm passionate about technology. So just to give you the number, is this reduced all the chance of the blackout. And then we are rolling out our service not only in the Delta Triangle, but also in the southern part of China. This is the same service that overseas utility is also looking to work with us. So the part of this is the women in tech. And let me introduce myself a little bit more. I went to the States and live and study and worked there almost 20 years. And then my entire career has been served on the clean technology and the power system. I worked for the World Bank Energy System, and then worked for the Department of Energy and on the advanced manufacturing. I also served Gary Locke for converting the nuclear energy to the renewable energy in Washington State. I graduated from MIT and then did research at the Energy Initiative. MIT gave me a tremendous platform to see the system level of the problem. And then very early on, during my study time, I know I will be an engineer. And then at a school, it's really nurtured me to explore more. I really appreciate all those mentors and all those professors just to keep open mind the conversation, ask me to think more, challenge more. And then, yes, I received numerous awards, but I always give this credit to the people who challenge me, who also really educate me in a great way. But why I started to do the eQuota, before I started doing eQuota, my last startup, also in the energy field, was acquired by a large IPO company in the world. It's really started when I had my first child. And then I realized that the large dependency on the coal-fired power plant bring the tremendous issue in the environment. I'm sure you see a lot of those smoky, the photos about coming out when they describe about China during the 2012 to 2015. I feel the urge that I want to utilize the technology I developed when I was at MIT and to really shift the energy dependency from coal-fired power plant to the clean energy and how to use those data analytics. It's like when you have a Fitbit, you understand your exercise. So that will be the same thing when you have a Fitbit. To understand how the manufacturing the energy data, you know minute by minute and where to consume, where to reduce, where can be optimized. And it will be really creating a good future for the next generation. Until I had this opportunity doing the scientific research at Antarctica. And then at this journey, I realized that when I see the dying penguin, the mother had to travel further to get the fish for the shrimp for the penguin. I feel this is no longer the journey I'm serving to hope the better future for my daughter's generation, but for my generation. And even after moving back to China, I see that my son is back, and I see a lot of environmental damage. And then there's a growing need, people seeing the impact that we needed to contribute to the society. The photo I put on the middle and on the right, in the middle is my favorite professor, Robert Armstrong, also my supervisor at MIT initiative. When I mentioned about I'm going to apply this technology in mainland China, he said, be patient, be bold, and also challenging people who don't believe it and really work like a system engineer, one step at a time, you're going to achieve it. So we got some recognition from Ashdown, from the other organization. And then we believe with all the efforts and the time, and we can implement the technology to help those clients in the manufacturing utility, low carbon future, going to come soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Charlotte, for your insight about data, about clean tech, and also your story. And our next speaker is Severin, co-founder of Idun Technologies. Idun Technologies is also a spin-off from ETH Zurich. Idun Technologies is also the Venture Leaders China 2019 alumni. I'm very glad to have Idun and Severin to be with us again. And a very cool topic Severin will bring to us today, brainwave is the new heart rate. Severin, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. So I'm just going to share my screen. So yeah, thank you again also for the opportunity. I will share with you our journey for Idun Technologies and mainly also explaining to you how we started with material innovation and where we are heading right now. So just also a bit of a background, because we're from different parts of the world. Our roots are in Switzerland. Resolution is not that good on that picture, but yeah, it's that very small country. And we have two leading universities, technical universities in Switzerland, being the ETH and EPFL, where most of the startups are coming from, actually. And in 2019, we had 2.3 billion invested in startup. We are definitely not the leader in startup investing in Europe, but we are getting there. So I would say in Switzerland, the scene for a startup and founding a startup in Switzerland is quite good at the moment. And we have a few unicorns. You might know some of it. We are also not yet the leader in unicorns in Switzerland, but it's really nice for the whole investment scene and startup scene to see that you can achieve actually really big and great businesses out of this small country in Europe. And what we're doing at Idun, we are enabling wearable devices for the Internet of Humans. I'm just going to give a little bit of technical background for everyone to understand what I'm talking about. So we are specialized on biometrics, on biodata, so and also specialized in sensor development for electrical data recording. So we can measure ECG, electrocardiogram, EEG, electroencephalogram, so the brain waves and muscles, and it's electrical measurements. So in biometrics, you have a lot of different sensors. In the smartwatches, for example, the most used one is an optical sensors, but we are focusing on electrical measurements. And this is like the vision that we have, or how we are going to see the future of having wearables. So we are enabling the Internet of Humans, and what we understand as Internet of Humans as the connection between the human and the digital world through biosensing powered by wearables. So we are believers, or we truly believe that in the future, people are going to interact with apps or with a computer, the digital world, in a way that is influenced by your own body. We have this first wave started with Fitbit. We heard from Charlotte a little bit about Fitbit. It's a start, but we truly believe that the next generation is coming. So from our journey on a product side, we started on the material innovation. So we are a spin-off from biosensors and bioelectronics lab. So it was all about how to make stretchable materials that are conductive, which is a really good things for biosensors, because you can use it as dry sensors, meaning you don't have to use any electrolyte gel, because you have a material that can adapt to the skin. So that was the first innovation, and we started off with building just this component. And we understood from all our customer journey that integration is very important, but also the electronics is quite important to be adapted to these new materials. And now we have a focus on hearables. So hearables are everything that you are putting around your ears or in ears, so headsets or in-ear headphones, and we're focusing on brain waves. So it means that we started with the material, and now we're expanding through data acquisition, so the whole electronics interpretation algorithm, because this is one of the very big missing step in the wearable journey currently. So the Fitbit effect, you have the data, but it doesn't mean really anything to you as actionable inputs. So this is something that we're working on, and the visualization. And why did we start with material innovation? That was because we saw a need in the market to combine comfort of sensors and accuracy of the data. So for background, clinical sensors, for example, the heart measurement or brain measurement, they're always used like this paste that is very uncomfortable and not used for long-term measurements. And on the other side, if you're going for comfort, for example, like a sports belt, the accuracy of the signal is very much lowered. So that was the idea, how we started. So we met, my co-founder and myself, in 2015. We both studied at ETH, and we started with this business idea of the material. And we worked through the whole master on this to develop the technology. And we could have this first publication in 2017, incorporated the company in 2017, and started the market entry and industrialization. This is just to tell you how everything changed from the lab to how we are now. So we had this material innovation. We had this process innovation because we used to microstructure those materials to make it more performant. And we had data in our hands due to master thesis. And that was the start of the industrialization. So we had to scale microstructuring process. We had to scale material production. And what we saw, on the other hand, we had to validate in the market and validate the price of the sensor. So our journey in market pricing customers, what happened is that we supplied electrodes to over 150 customers and researchers across the world for heart, muscle, and brain measurements. And we saw that electrodes are a component that needs to be really cheap. we had to do a lot of troubleshooting on the electronic side, because as I mentioned, the electronic is quite bound to the signal that you're picking up, and our materials has a different kind of signal that it's picking up. So the electronic side needed to be optimized. Also a lot of troubleshooting on the integration of the sensor, that it is integrated on the skin. So you can do a lot of things wrong on how you integrate it in a textile or anything. And also we noticed the bigger the customer, the more fragmented the know-how is. And what we figured is that we need to sell more than just a component in order to survive with material innovation, because material innovation is really expensive to upscale, and you cannot have a component that needs to be extremely cheap. So we also said, okay, we need to take over the electronic side because this is a lot of know-how that is bound to our material innovation, and also about the integration side, so that our customer are not messing this up. And that's why we focused on the hearables. And it's also a strategic decision, why the hearables. So when you think smart or wearables, you think smartwatches usually. And it's true, it's one of the most sold wearables, but the hearables, since iPhone or Apple took out the jack, is really taking over the market. And we truly believe that this is going to be the evolution, the similar evolution to the smartwatch. At some point, biometrics are going to be integrated. And this is our end game. We want to have enable those wearables to interact with apps on a different way. For example, you could think about having your Spotify playlist adapted to your brainwaves so that you can focus better, or that it motivates you to go doing sports, or that it relaxes you when you're in a stress level. Or you can combine it with Headspace, one of the biggest meditation app, so that it gives you actually training really based on your own data. So we're also a strong believer of personalized algorithm. And this is what we are going to build over the next few years. It's going to be an emotional intelligence as a service based on hardware that we are co-developing. And this is our strongest asset, is always like the team. You can see myself and my co-founder, Simon, and mainly everyone currently is in material development, most of the people, and we have expanded into the electronics and the application side, and our next expansion will be specifically on the neuroscience side. And yeah, that's it for my journey, or our journey at Edon. And yeah, thank you for your attention. And yeah, please ask questions about building a company or anything that can interest you.
Thank you, Severin, for your impressive presentation. Thank you for the smart materials that you introduced to us, and I trust you're going to bring it to our society as well. And yeah, I really can feel this change in my daily life, and more and more. And now we will have our last speaker, Himani, our co-founder and CFO of Untitled Labs. She will share with us about Agriculture 4.0. And Himani, welcome you.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Hi, everyone. Just sharing my screen. So, hi, everyone. I'm Himani, and co-founder and CFO of Untitled Labs. It is a pleasure and privilege to get this opportunity. Thank you, SwissNext. And I would like to thank all of you for being here. Hope everyone is safe and in sound health. So my topic is on Agriculture 4.0. Before we go through the history and journey of agriculture, let me just quickly introduce Untitled Labs. We are agri-tech startup founded in 2016 with a vision to bring transparency in agriculture supply chain. And what we've done is we have started with digitizing quality across the fresh produce supply chain. So let's look at fresh produce market, right? Fresh produce market around the world is around $1.5 trillion. And approximately 1/3 of that which is $500 billion, gets wasted. This is a massive number globally. And this is just fresh produce. If we look at the total food loss, it is 1.3 billion tons of food, and it is valued at around $1 trillion. These are the number published on FAO website. A little bit fun fact is that an area larger than China is used to grow food that is never eaten by us. So this is a very huge problem. This loss is split into various stages in farm to fork supply chain. And the technology and agriculture 4.0 has huge role to play in minimizing these losses. Almost 2.3 billion people are expected to join the planet by 2050. So this will require 60 to 70% increase in global food production, or we can just stop throwing away our food, right now. So let's take a look at what is agriculture 4.0 and how did you get here, like a little bit of journey on agriculture. Technology is changing the world rapidly, right? And agriculture industry is still just catching up. Over the last many years, we have had traditional practices of agriculture 1.0 and 2.0, when farming was essentially with a lot of manual labor and traditional ways. Now we are moving towards 3.0 and 4.0. Different parts of the world are practicing all these incarnations. Agri 2.0 came with machines, fertilizers, hybrid seeds, etc., which helped farmers produce more with lesser efforts. 3.0 involved more innovative technologies like specialized software, basic weather report, and so on. And now there is inception of Agri 4.0 with automated farm equipments. There is wide array of IoT sensors which are available to measure soil moisture, drones that keep track of crops. And all these technologies have completely way agriculture business was being done. Okay. So this kind of digitization in agriculture is far more efficient than its counterparts in the past. Now let's look at why do we need Agri 4.0 in today's time, right? Like I mentioned earlier, the human population is projected to reach 10 billion by 2050. So there is definitely a need of finding better, smarter, and more environmental friendly ways to grow food and bring it to end consumer. We have to significantly increase our productivity in terms of food generation and also in terms of logistics related to it. Right? So clearly there is a lot to play for agriculture 4.0, not only in terms of feeding the world more sustainability, but it also gives opportunity in terms of business. Right? Of course, there are and there will be some unforeseen situations like the world is facing right now. Right, that has halted almost all the operations, but it has also taught us that we need to incept the technologies that require minimal human interaction, that are easy to adapt and don't require a lot of effort to update itself as per the market and the situation needs. So at Intello Labs, we see that there is tremendous focus now from the government as well as private organization to bring digitization in overall supply chain and trading of agri-produce, which is traditionally done physically, manually at a location and so on. Let's look at some examples of Agri 4.0 in achieving the same. Agri 4.0 has variety of technologies. What I have picked for this presentation are mainly based on imaging technology because that is core to Intello Labs. When we talk about imaging technologies, there are three types of images that come to mind. Satellite images, drones, and camera and smartphone based images. These are useful at various points in the food cycle, and they have several use cases in the supply chain. Right. So I'll just take an example of one use case of each of this type. So this is satellite image data application, and there are several companies globally working on these at various stages. So satellite images can be used for better understanding of fruit cultivation, the supply, the expected yield. This is a case of pineapple, and hence it can give a forecast of total production across any area, be it a country or a farm or a world, right? This involves collecting satellite images, uh, applying computer vision and AI on it to determine which areas have pineapple, then use NDVI vegetation index analysis to look at stages of growth. And all this data can be analyzed to arrive at a reasonable estimate of the pineapple production or any fruit production for that matter. Right? Combined with the ground data, it also helps the grower to plan the production better and control their budgets. Let's look at the other imaging, which is drone image analysis. So there are drone-based, these are drone-based image of palm plantations. The palm plantations are usually grown, in few thousand hectares of area. Different parts are typically in different stages of growth, and there are some freshly cultivated. Some areas get damaged by animal attacks like elephants. Some plants are unhealthy and need additional nutrients, and so on. So it is a very complex task to locate what is happening where with feet on ground. And this can cause losses in terms of millions of dollars. So an accurate and early detection can really help in taking corrective action in time. So drone data images can easily be collected across the plantation, and using AI and computer vision to decode and analyze, there are several useful data that can be derived. For example, where are mature versus immature trees? This can help in plan for picking and yield estimation, identifying unplanted or damaged areas, which may need fresh planting activities, determining if there was any forest area that got cleared by comparing images through time, and so on. And there are several application of drone images. Finally, let me talk about an application which we really focus on at Intello Labs as well, which is using mobile phone or camera-based images. So using a mobile app, right, anybody in the food business can take images of fresh produce to get a digitally verifiable quality report. Our deep learning algorithms identify each contour in the given picture as individual items, then classify them into good and unhealthy items. This is a very objective, non-destructive, and scalable solution. It is applicable across supply chain from farm to fork, right? Wherever there is a commodity exchanging hands, this is applicable. It can be used anywhere in the world and across various commodities. We talked about food loss earlier. In the retail supply chain, there is almost 21.6% loss of fresh produce, which is caused due to a variety of reasons, such as wrong purchases, dumping the good produces. There are losses in storage, handling, etc. So our solution helps in reducing these losses at various touch points by aligning the right quality and helping in making right decisions. Right? The lack of objective assessment of quality continues to be bottleneck in bringing transparency across fresh produce value chain. We have worked on fruits and vegetables, and we've collated a list of produce and quality parameters and helped in defining the quality as well as measuring the quality in an objective manner. So this technology not only seeks to bring fairness in fresh produce trade, but also an ability to bring quality assurance with low physical involvement. Right? This is something which assumes even greater importance in today's world. Consumers are becoming increasingly conscious of food that they eat, and Intello's technology, when integrated with blockchain solutions, can be a powerful solutions to the same in the world of agriculture 4.0. Yeah. So in the end, I would just like to say that it's still early days for agriculture 4.0. It's a large vision and something that we need to achieve. everyone has a part to play in reducing food loss and waste. Intello Labs aims to work across broad spectrum of stakeholders and partners to tackle this problem. With the large amount of food waste, now is the time for industry also to adopt more digitized approach across the supply chain. Implementing integrated and innovative systems will allow all key stakeholders from field to fork to efficiently manage food and reduce risk of waste and loss. Right? We see that there is a lot of investments also happening now in this field. As per report by AgFunder, agri-tech startups have grown more than 80% per year since 2012. So in just last 7 years, it's a huge growth. Big business leaders are also investing millions of dollars in technologies like precision farming, automation, and data analytics, smart irrigation, and the list goes on, and moving away from traditional laborious practices. Last year, agri-tech startups received around $19.8 billion of investments. So I'm looking forward to see a lot of innovations happening across the world with this huge rise in interest and investment in the sector. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Simin, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Himani, for Agriculture 4.0, and also Charlotte and Severin. Thank you very much for sharing your leading technology and the impressive projects that you are leading. And before we're talking more about technology, and now I'm looking forward to hear more story about your entrepreneurship journey, especially in a Q&A session. And I will have our co-organizer, Anchet from SwissNext India, to moderate the Q&A session. Anchet, welcome.
Thank you, Severin. Thank you, Charlotte, Severin, Himani, for sharing your insights into the fields and your field of expertise. I also want to thank everyone for sharing your questions for our speakers. We have tried to answer those questions as soon as they come. I think, however, there are a few left, so I'll take up those questions for our speakers now. The first question is actually for all of our speakers. So gender equality and empowering women are rarely at the forefront of a startup's priorities. What can each of you contribute, and what leadership do you bring personally within your team?
Do you want me to?
Please go ahead, Imani.
Right. So you're absolutely right. And, at Intello Labs, as a founder and as well as HR leader, we address it by actually never addressing it, right? No, not talking about it, not stereotyping it. So all the discussions and everything, whether it is a hiring or performance review or any sort of those, are more based on talent. We don't have any parameters or don't encourage any discussions which are based around gender, right? So yeah, I think that's the way. I don't know how actively fighting on it really helps. It only feels like it brings up a lot of noise, right? But we do, and we have a completely female HR and admin team at Intello Labs. And we personally don't shy away from any tasks, right, that otherwise are biased by gender, and sort of try to set a right example in the company.
Thank you. Another question, and this one is for Himani as well. Leading a growing company that just obtained a new round of investments, how do you achieve work-life balance?
So very good question, and I'm going to honestly say it's not easy. It's it's a very difficult task, and fortunately, I have a very good support system. So when things are going bad at home, there are I have a co-founding team and team at office who sort of supports and takes over. And vice versa at home, when things are stressful in office, a lot of things, and especially in these times, right, when there is no helps, daycares, and I have two kids, 1 2-year and a 5-year-old. So no external support. Schools and daycares are closed, right? So especially in current times, it's even more challenging. But yeah, have very understanding and helpful network of family and friends close by, sort of pitches in.
Sure. So before we continue with the questions, I was wondering if Severine and Charlotte, could you also provide some insight into the gender equality and empowering women currently, and how do you resolve that? How do you bring that personally within your team?
Yeah, so, oh, sorry, was it for
Go ahead.
Charlotte? Sorry, Charlotte. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I quite resonate with Himani. It's not an issue, and I think engineering is a really good environment to not have differences, because I always say, like, I think engineers, they connect at another level at some point in the body, because you're brainstorming about solution and you're being creative, and it has nothing to do in what kind of body you're in. So that's my personal feeling and experience in being in engineering and studying engineering. So I think this is a great area to be a female. And also I think it's leading the example. So for example, in our company, we are almost 50-50 split, women and men. And it has nothing to do with a quota or anything. It's just like, we ask them, so why did you apply? We have a lot of female applying, and this is the most important thing that you should have in a company. It's them applying, because then it's not about having a quota. We're going to take her because she's a female, but we're going to take her because she's the best option, because you have a pool of a lot of women applying. And we ask them, so why did you apply? And they usually say it's kind of like a vibe that you give up on the internet, and how you present yourself and having females. And I think the best thing that we can do is having a startup and daring to be in a startup. It's just giving an example. Yeah.
I feel the same way. I think the first thing is you want to have expertise, a professional person, top notch of the team member to work with you. It's a challenging market. You build a startup, so you really want your team is solid. You can depend on each other. You also can figure out the tough situations, what would be the solutions. So you don't really say, well, at this moment I only hire women, or at this moment I only hire men. So that doesn't really come out that way. But when we're dealing with the diversity and the gender, it just really, there are certain sections of the job, there will be more women. And I'm really seeing there are more women coming out from STEM and then doing the technical and the R&D work in my company. Then I find it's a really, I think the market is really more welcome with the more women engineering and do more. One thing we do notice for the women between right after they have a first kid for good next 5 to 10 years, they really have a smaller amount of the employed women want to be at a startup. So we try to make them more engaging. And when the women pregnant, we have the policy to support them. Well, you can work a few days at home, a couple of days in the office, more flexible hours, or you can take a kid. So we don't have a large team, like 30 plus people. So it's a really kind of a joyful moment when you see a kid once in a while. So it just kind of, you create your own culture, and you want to welcome all the women, feel comfortable. You have the nursing room, and then those just, it's also really let all those male or even single guy understand that eventually he's going to support his wife to go through all this.
Thank you. Thank you. Another question, this one again for Charlotte. In your experience working abroad, what do you see in other countries or cultures that you would like your community to emulate in terms of empowering women in STEM?
Yes, I did work in quite a few regions, in Europe, US, and then the project in Africa, in the Middle East. Two things I really like to take on and to see there'll be more empowering women, the initiatives happening in China. One is really more supporting working environment for women. Have a kid in the office and also have a flexible hours. Doesn't have to, maybe the lady will have between 4 to 8 is not working, but after kid is sleeping and she often want to work, so between the 8 to 9 or 8 to 10. So those flexible hours, how to really work in the technology firm is a really, would be really good to have an initiative in the community, also have the policy from government. The second part, I particularly really like from the other regions, for the women have those community after work. So you meet often and have this almost like the routine gathering, and then to continue sharing on this. So that part, maybe the large city here, people do live far away, so this is a once a while. But I also find China has a one unique, the cultural part could also help the other countries. The way is, those women really have a more patience in them, to encourage the guy sitting next to them and said, oh, it's a small cake. If I can do it, you can do it. I love that attitude. So that's also something I want to share with the audience is it doesn't have to be a certain region. It's just a woman sitting next to you could provide some advice and for everyone to listen.
Thank you. Right. It is remarkable how Asian startups understand the need of mass markets and develop appropriate scalable solutions, while Swiss startups usually focus on sophisticated products based on a lot of intellectual property, be it patents or trade secrets. How do you combine both strengths? Can we start with Severine and then go to Himani in answering these questions?
Yeah, so this is a bit of the Swiss cliche that engineering Swiss cliche that we are only going to sell when everything is perfect and we cannot sell. I think there is something about it, and you have to learn to change that and get the mindset of going out with half perfect solution and being very near to the customer. I mean, for us, we were always more on this kind of mindset, just try it out and ask for feedback. And it worked out well, but it's kind of a mindset that you need to get, especially when you start your own company. You kind of have to change this mindset that it's not passive anymore. You're not getting passive know-how anymore from university. If you don't understand something, you really have to go out and ask. And yeah, I mean, it's a journey, it's a mindset journey, but that's the only way you can really learn. It's being close to your customer. And for my personal experience, it's also being very open about where your problems are, because usually you're going to get a solution if you talk about the problems. So yeah, that would be my point.
Himani, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I absolutely relate to what Severine is saying, right? And we also see there are two kinds of mindset, even in within a startup, right? Be it in India or Switzerland or anywhere. There would be people who would be focusing on R&D and development, and they would not want to sell until you have everything in place and it's perfect. And but again, there is the thought that until you sort of test in the market and start selling it and somebody is willing to pay for it, you can never know whether it's perfect or not. So you can't sort of sit in your labs and figure out that this is perfect or not. You'll always get some feedback, some noise, some constructive criticism on your product. And so there's always a mindset to sort of launch first, maybe go small, keep improving. Especially in a B2B startup, it's important to have couple of big customers, so you understand their problems. Consumer based, it's easy to sort of test in a small groups as well. And I think one more thing also comes from availability of funding. So research and development requires a lot of funding if you don't have any commercialization done. And so I really can't comment much on Europe, but I think in India there is still there is risk aversity in funding a very early stage startup. So unless you're self-funded or doing a job or you have some income of money and you're working on the development, it's not really easy for a company to survive for a long term of research without any business.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, what are the biggest challenges you see in scaling your business nationally and internationally as a female founder? Let's start with Charlotte, and then we'll go with go for the others.
For us, the challenge is you want to develop a standard product service. You don't want to customize the product. So we are a SaaS, software as a service company. So we really look at when we create a minimum viable product, we try to maximize the failure test to figure out who will be our good target customer. Value include the economic value, the unit price, is this a business model and pricing model is good. Then when we look at international and domestic, it's the same product. Only difference is mainland China tend to have a much complicated or fancy user interface request. And then when we're dealing with the international project or international request, the product, they are more looking at the measurable results and then to look at how that can embedded with their existing system. But even with the domestic market, where we find, even we apply the same product and service, what we find, this is a totally goal scaling. There are a lot of things has been missing for a while, and then they want to scale in the large space. And then in China, we have encountered a lot of situations like they either don't do it or they do all at once. So you have to figure out how can you commit yourself into such a large project with a limited resource and can roll out without any failure.
Thank you. Thank you. Severine, any thoughts?
Yeah, for us, because we used to be a hardware startup, we are very bound to the manufacturer of wearable devices. And Switzerland is not well known for wearable devices because we almost have none. So the domestic market, what we are selling in Switzerland, is mostly electrodes for researchers. So it's to have this validation on the application side. But mainly we have been international from the beginning on, because any kind of neurotech companies or wearable device companies or device manufacturer for biopotential measurements, they are all over the place, mainly Latin America, also in China, Japan. So it's not really about Switzerland for us, yeah.
Himani? How do you see, what are the challenges that you see in scaling your business nationally and internationally as a female founder?
Right. So for us, I think the main difference in nationally versus, other markets are the agriculture supply chain, the way they're formed. For example, scale of farmers in India is much smaller, and you have a lot of these aggregators, and the way retailers source the food is completely different from US or Asia Pacific, or one of the first world countries. So there is a large scale of growers. What I mean to say is basically it's the same technology and the product, but the use case and the casing sort of needs to change as to what sort of decision making and which point you are approaching them in the supply chain, and how and where exactly it is best implemented to reduce losses. So yeah, we have offices in Singapore as well as US, and we are figuring things out, and I'm planning customers internationally as well.
Thank you. Thank you. One final question for everyone. If you have the ability to mentor another woman, will you consider it, and what will you do differently? Maybe you all can give your thoughts on this.
Yeah,
I'll consider it. Actually, I am a mentor. Oh, yeah, I consider it, and I am right now mentoring the two women. One is in the grad school, one is just an early career woman. I spent 10 years in the Big Brother, Big Sister and mentor a lot of the younger girl to get into the STEM. I think what we'll be doing different, I think it would be more encourage them to try more and then dare to dream big and then dare to challenge them outside of the comfort zone. I think the rest are really just kind of give them, empower them to step further, not just to limit it what they think they could do.
Thank you. Severin, Himani?
Okay, I'm jumping in. So yeah, I would definitely do it. I mean, the startup scene is very open. I mean, everybody who has a startup knows how much feedback you can get for free from very interesting people. So this is something that you are giving back. So that's props to the startup scene. For me, I think the things that I can give to do it better, it's mostly on leading people, and I would give a lot of feedback on that, and that's mostly internal leading. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Himani, what about you?
Yeah, I think very similar. Absolutely would consider mentoring other women. Especially, I understand, you know, how startup and managing home can be a tough task together, and how to navigate through various difficult situations. You might get a lot of negative feedbacks from both ends, you know, when you're suffering from the other side. But how do you sort of you know, filter out that criticism, I would say, and you know, be focused on your objective. I think yeah, those are the key things that I would like to sort of work around.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So we have had a lot of great interaction, but not a lot of time. But I think we got to everybody and their questions. Hopefully this was an insightful session where we covered multiple topics like big data analytics, brainwaves, and agriculture 4.0 from 3 accomplished women entrepreneurs. On behalf of SwissNext China and SwissNext India, I would like to thank the speakers for taking the time to join us for this webinar and sharing their thoughts. Thank you all for being here today and taking the time patiently to listen to what our speakers had to say. Please reach out to us on info@swissnextchina.org and info@swissnextindia.org for any further questions or comments. Lastly, please visit our LinkedIn page for more information on upcoming programs, as well as staying in touch. On behalf of SwissNext China and SwissNext India, I wish you all a blessed day. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Bye.
Bye bye.